Good afternoon, my fellow Johorians. This is Dr. K.N. Singh again, commenting on our recent flood situation in Johor Bahru. The rains are here again, and we see widespread floods in Johor again, and these have caused widespread damage and inconvenience, but fortunately, no loss in life yet. The government has established a special committee where a technical committee was established under the Greater JB agenda to study flood retention development and ensure sustainability of drainage. The flood mitigation projects had a total budget of 179 million over 3 years. 50 million was used in 2023, 50 million in 2024, and 70 million for 2025. Sadly, no accounts have been given, and we Johorians have no idea how the money has been spent. And some of us wonder if this money has been siphoned by others. 9 million of the balance was allocated to Felda Bukit Permai, but we have absolutely no idea how this money was spent. Flood mitigation projects costing 1.6 billion are expected to be completed by 2027, including the upgrade of Muar River, construction of the flood reservoir in Sungai Johor and Kota Tinggi. No progress reports have been given to us as to how this money has been spent so far. They have prepared relief centers. 1,000 of them of temporary relief centers were prepared to accommodate flood victims. The federal support of 600 million was separately allocated to Batu Pahat, Sagamat and Kota Tinggi. And unfortunately, though we see that 1.6 billion has been allocated with an additional 600 million, the public in Johor have absolutely no idea how this money was spent. Surely the authorities concerned have to be accountable. In the recent Johor Bahru floods, Kampung Sepakat Baru was flooded to the rooftops. Most residents there are elderly, mainly Malays, whose children have got better jobs and move with their families to areas that are more middle class. The elderly just refuse to move in with them as Malaysian parents are proud and they want to live alone and together as long as husband and wife are alive and able to take care of each other. These were the most affected people in the last floods. As we have huge corruption scandals when the 5th Prime Minister Dato' Najib was charged for MDB-1 and the 7th Prime Minister Muhyiddin was also charged for corruption. The 8th Prime Minister Ismail Sabri has been charged now for possession of 170 million in cash and 16 kilograms of gold which were recovered from a safe house. There is a rumor that this money was kept for vote purchasing in the next election, as vote purchasing was very successful in Terengganu, where PAS managed to buy the state, which was actually an UMNO stronghold. There is absolutely no accountability, and we have absolutely no idea where our money goes. Maybe the regent of Johor is right when he says that there are many parties among the Johor MPs such as UMNO, PAS, DAP, Perikatan Nasional, Warisan Muda, but there is no really Johor-based party that has an interest of Johor at heart. Maybe it's time we had one for the next election. Unlike Gabongan Rakyat Sabah, GRS is a regional coalition in Sabah and Sarawak. They have been asking a lot for Sabah and Sarawak, and the federal government has been forced to give it to them. They wanted a higher percentage of their tax revenue to go back to them. As a result, Sabah and Sarawak have received a significant portion of their revenue from federal allocations and special grants, rather than straight tax revenue directly. However, They are allowed to collect state taxes, unlike Peninsular Malaysia states like Johor, whose tax collection goes to the federal government and the money is then given to Johor from what is collected from Johor. For instance, Sabah state sales tax revenue is substantial, contributing to its overall revenue, which includes 2.597 billion from sales tax in 2025. Both Sabah and Sarawak have had their special grant increased significantly. In 2024, the allocations were raised from 16 million to 30 million for Sarawak and 125.6 million for Sabah. Now, this is planned to be doubled in 2025. The region believes, and I agree with him, that the fact that we have no Johor-based party like Gabongan Rakyat Johor in our state, so we cannot demand our rights like Sabah and Sarawak do. The specific amount of tax collected in Johor is not detailed in any available information. However, Johor has recorded significant revenue with its state budget for 2025, expecting a revenue of 2.005 billion ringgit. Johor has been asking for 20% of our tax revenue to be channeled back to them. This indicates that Johor generates substantial income. The state's economic performance, including GDP of 148.2 billion in 2023 and substantial trade contributions, suggests that Johor has a robust tax base. Maybe it's time, my fellow Johorians, that we form Gabongan Rakyat Johor in the next elections before 2027, so that we can have MPs who are from Johor and who have Johor needs and aspirations at heart. As we have the royal backing, as this suggestion first came to us from the region of Johor, we should actually look into this seriously. I will be happy to join this party and contribute in any way I can. The first thing we should ask for is 20% of our taxes to be returned to the state. As of now, we have no access to the information on how much the federal government collects from Johor. Or maybe it's fair to say that I could not find it myself. Thank you for listening, and until we meet again, this is Dr. K.N. Singh from Johor Bahru on the